Today we're driving the 2023 Toyota GR86. This is a premium with, as you can hear, the GR Performance dual exhaust. Sounds pretty good. It's a $1,700 option. Is it worth it? This has a few other GR parts like the GR shift knob and a GR air filter. Don't really hear a difference, don't really feel a difference, but it's there and it's an option. As tested, 34 grand for this GR86 Premium. It's painted in Neptune blue, and of course we get a 2.4 liter naturally aspirated boxer 4-cylinder engine from Subaru. Makes 228 horsepower, mated to a 6-speed manual in this car. This thing looks fantastic. I love the design of the GR86. I prefer its looks to the BRZ. Here's a peek at that exhaust. This looks just like an axle back system. Maybe there is a larger resonator under there. Maybe it is a catback. It's supposed to be a bolt-on system. For $1,700, there are some less expensive options out there, but this is a little bit more aggressive, I think, than your regular muffled axle back. And as a catback, it's an improvement over the previous generation TRD exhausts, a little bit less droney. Still, it's more of an aggressive option, and we'll give you guys a chance to hear it in this video. We'll throw some exterior sound clips in this video too, so you guys can hear it from the outside. So let's just quickly walk around this GR86. This is the Premium, it's the top trim. Unlike the Subaru, where Premium means it's the base model, this actually means that it's the top model. We get 18-inch wheels on Michelin PS4s, 215/40 R18s. These Michelins are super loud on the road, tons of noise from these tires. They have decent performance, but they are just so loud. First thing I would do with a car like this is put a set of 17-inch wheels and tires on it and just go to another brand away from Michelin. Their tires are just too loud for the GR86 and BRZ. For the performance you get, it's not worth the sacrifice in comfort. Love the looks of this car though. This front bumper design is beautiful. Looks pretty sharp in Neptune blue. These seats, the interior, the Alcantara, the suede, the trimming in here is really nice. A little bit extra bolstering in the new GR86 as well. Let's pop the hood. See if we can see this air filter. I assume it's just a filter element right in here. And it looks like it is. Easy car to work on, nice open engine bay, decent fuel economy, decent torque, decent power now, finally. Sadly, we have heard some reports recently of this car getting low oil pressure on track under hard right-hand corners. So, at this point, I'm going to kind of say track your GR86 and BRZ, your new cars, at your own risk. I don't know if this is really a viable track car anymore. It is a great street car, it's a really fun daily driver, but as a track toy, this new generation might be compromised. So we'll wait till things develop a little bit more, see if there's a solution, see if there's a fix, see if Toyota or Subaru come out with anything for these cars, but at this point, it doesn't look very good with long-term reliability on these cars on the track. We're seeing significant oil pressure drops on right-hand corners. Everywhere else looks pretty solid, but may not be as solid of a track car as the previous generation BRZ and 86 was. Sad to say that, but it is what it is. Okay, let's hop inside. I think that's a pretty decent walk around. We've familiarized you guys with these cars plenty. Got a tiny little back seat back there too. Usable in a pinch. This new generation BRZ GR86 has a significantly smaller trunk opening than the previous gen. Makes it a little bit less usable, but it's still a decent size for a car like this. We have no spare tire, but all you do is just go on eBay and pay $100 for a previous generation spare tire kit and you're all set. Rear seats fold down, giving you lots of cargo room in the back. And I have a son who sits in a rear-facing child seat. I can actually fit his seat behind this front passenger. It's a baby Duna. And this seat moves so far forward, it's easy to get stuff in and out of the back. That's really nice. Of course, the passenger doesn't fit in front of him, but in a pinch, if I need to take my son around town, I can in my BRZ/GR86. All right, let's hop in. We'll go over a couple more things in the interior, and then we'll take this for a drive. Some subtle differences between the BRZ and the GR86. These door handles are black instead of chrome. We've got Alcantara, silver stitching instead of red like we get in the BRZ. Some differences with the gauge cluster here too. So if you go into track mode, you get an actual oil temperature reading instead of just kind of a line. So that's nice. You have a lap timer. I like that. A few other displays here like a G meter, horsepower meter, stopwatch, tire pressure displays. That's good to see. We've got wired CarPlay and Android Auto. Relatively simple infotainment. I love these cars because they feel like brand new vehicles from 20 years ago. They're just functional, pure driver's cars. Physical controls for everything, knobs, dials for all your climate. Nice looking GR logo there on the stop start button. This premium has heated seats. Little center area here. There isn't really a good place to put your phone in these cars, unfortunately, but you kind of learn to make do. The automatics have a little cup holder section right here, and that would be really nice to see in this car here. Love these seats. Again, big fan of the materials in this GR86. I think this interior just looks so much more clean and pure, and this little GR logo at the bottom of the rim looks really nice too. Pretty spacious too. Accommodates taller drivers, which not a lot of sports cars in this class do. You're looking at a ND Miata. Forget about driving that thing comfortably if you're over 6'2", or maybe even 6 foot, depending on your size. This, you can get in one of these cars and live with it comfortably on a daily basis. All right, so setting off with this new GR Performance exhaust. Just a little bit throatier, a little bit louder at idle. Cold starts are a bit drony, but they're not intolerable like some catback exhaust systems are. At lower revs, this sounds nice. There's a bit of drone at 2,500 RPM, and that's about it. Everywhere else in the rev range, it's a nice clean tone. Oh, and you get some enhanced pops on downshifts with this exhaust. We'll listen to that a little bit later once this thing warms up a bit. At high revs, unfortunately, our fake engine noise kicks in and kind of drones out the exhaust. That's an easy fix though. Just a quick unplug, pop out that side panel, reach your hand in and unplug that module. First thing I did on my BRZ. Don't really know why Toyota and Subaru did that in this car. The engine sounds great on its own without any fake noise through the speakers. So being a BRZ owner, it's hard for me not to make comparisons between my car and this car. The biggest difference is stiffer suspension in the GR86, a bit better of a sorted chassis for performance driving, not as soft as the BRZ. BRZ is a little bit better of a daily, less harshness over bigger bumps, a little bit more compliance. I think a slightly better car for our Michigan roads, but everywhere else in the country, this is a bit better sorted of a driver's car. There's a little bit less understeer in this GR86 from the factory as a result. You don't need to add a bunch of negative camber to the front end to dial that out in this GR86, even though that does help quite a bit. So stiffer suspension, less understeer, maybe not as comfortable, but still a really nice sports car for the money. We still get some less expensive materials in here. This is still a $28,000, $29,000, $30,000 car in its base form. Pretty affordable. One difference that I have enjoyed this week in this GR86 is the throttle tuning. I can confirm is different in the GR86 from the BRZ. For a long time, I didn't really notice it. After some commenters chimed in, I feel it now. There is a major difference between this and the BRZ. The BRZ throttle tuning is abysmal. It's kind of all over the place. You really don't have a lot of response from that right pedal. This GR86 is actually pretty good. So that's one difference that I have noticed. I have fixed that in my BRZ with a pedal commander, a throttle tuning device. This GR86 doesn't really need it. We have good throttle response, nice linear pedal application and response from the engine. Just gotten a buzz there at full throttle from the dash. That's new. And you can hear on the highway a lot of road noise from these Michelin PS4 tires. Not a fan of these 18s and not a fan of these tires. They have decent grip, but honestly, any tire in this car has decent grip because the chassis is so good. I have all-terrain tires on my BRZ because it's a little rally car, and tons of grip from those. It's a blast. You can hear on the highway, no drone from the exhaust. Goes back into traction mode on 3,000 RPM, 3,500 RPM. You can barely hear it, except for when you give it just a little bit of light throttle. It's only when you get it at about 2,500 RPM where you get just a little bit of tone. It's nice and deep though, and not overbearing. Gets a bit drony under hard throttle, but that's about it. There's a pop. It's nice to see Toyota developing exhaust for this car that gives it just a little bit more personality. From the factory, this exhaust is pretty much silent. This buzz from the dashboard is terrible. That just cropped up today. So let's talk about what this car's been like to live with. On our bumpy Michigan roads, I've got to say I prefer the suppleness from the BRZ's suspension. It's just that much more comfortable of a car. But if you live somewhere with better roads than we have, which isn't hard to do, it's pretty much everywhere, then this actually might be a little bit more sorted of a chassis and enjoyable to drive on a back road. This TRD exhaust does sound good, but I think it's going to kind of depend on your preference. If you prefer a lower, deeper exhaust note with just a little bit of drone and you can tolerate that, this is a pretty good system. It's not as hardcore as some of the catbacks out there, like the Corsa, for example. That's a much louder system than this is, but it's also not as quiet and toned down as an Axleback, like the Sport Touring from MRT or the Borla. It's kind of in between. It's a nice middle ground. I think it suits the car's character well. It's just, again, a bit of a shame that we have this fake piped-in engine noise in this GR86, but that's an easy fix. You can get rid of that pretty quickly. Still love this car though. Its simplicity is just fantastic to live with. The performance is great with this new generation. The power is fantastic. The chassis is really well sorted. It's one of the few cars left that feels light and playful and flickable. If the new Miata is just a little bit small to live with on a daily basis and use as a practical car, this fills in all the right gaps and offers similar, if not better, performance. I've said it in many reviews before, one of my favorite things about this car and about this platform is that you can kind of just turn it into whatever you want it to be. You can daily drive these cars. You can drive in the snow in the winter. They handle great. They're a lot of fun. It's a fantastic learning tool. And they're incredibly affordable and great value. There's a solid aftermarket. Running costs are low. Consumables are low. I wouldn't be too afraid to do, 1 or 2 track days a year in a car like this, but if you're considering this as a heavy use track toy, I might look at some other options. As far as which one to get, BRZ versus GR86, back when I bought my BRZ, it was kind of the only option I had available to me to purchase at MSRP. Now that might not be as much of an issue. It kind of just comes down to personal preference. These cars are so close with just a few little subtle differences between them. If you want a better sort of chassis, maybe you live on an area with nicer roads, ride comfort isn't as much of a priority, I'd go for the GR86. I think it's the better looking car. The BRZ though, it's a bit more comfortable, a bit more livable, and if you prefer that styling, then go for that. I think this GR Performance exhaust is a nice accessory. It's a little bit on the expensive side. I'm seeing online you can get these for $1,650, $1,500 on sale as a factory option for $1,700. Might not be bad. So hopefully this video has given you guys an idea of what that sounds like and if it kind of fits that sound that you're going for in your GR86 or BRZ. Ultimately, I'd say I think it enhances the driving experience here and makes this a bit better for a sports car. This is a competitive space these days. There are some great options at this price point. I think if you're looking for ultimate driver fun, the Miata is still the answer. And if you're looking for a track car, Miata is still the answer. If you want something that can do everything, I'd look pretty heavily at Hyundai N products. But the GR86, the BRZ are still really hard to beat for value and for driving enjoyment. I've loved every single minute that I've spent in my BRZ, and I'm not looking to get rid of it anytime soon. The cool thing about these cars is you can tailor them to however you want to use them, whether it's for drifting, for daily driving, a little bit of light track use, probably okay. Again, at your own risk. I love the way my car drives on dirt, on gravel. It's a fantastic rear-wheel drive rally car. And again, suited to the roughness and ground clearance needs of Michigan roads. But that's the beauty with these cars. You can kind of just turn them into whatever you want. And they're excellent driver's tools and really fun vehicles to live with. So I think we're going to wrap things up there. It is nice to drive a car with a few GR parts on it. I do really like the shift knob too. Don't know if I feel or hear a difference with the airbox, especially over the active sound, but cool. That's it for this one. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.